I think we'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And also, before we start, I would like a moment of silence in memory of Jeanette White, a longtime county employee. All right, moving on, motion to approve the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from April, right? The minutes, did everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Is this something that we just got today? Is this something machine? I don't know. That just showed up. I don't, yeah.
That's not from you, sir?
No,
I don't have one.
I guess I'm not sure what that is. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Oh, you got it.
Thank you. All right. Did I offer a motion on the minutes, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And public comment period. We do have 2 minutes and a reminder of no personal attacks.
Good morning, Commissioners. There is a difference between exercising one's First Amendment right to free speech and what you refer to as personal attacks. I am here to exercise my right to free speech about the conduct of Houston County officials in the course of county business. On page 1 of the handout you're receiving is an email message sent to you by Jackie Baker regarding her concerns about the Erickson matter. On page 2, you see the message was forwarded to Zoning Department Head Rick Frank by Judy Storley with the comment, "Sorry to share this with you, but jerks seem to outnumber decent people lately."
Wow.
Nice.
Rick Frank then forwarded the message to Bob Scanlon and Brian Pogodzinski. Scanlon in turn forwarded the entire series of messages to Jackie Baker's employer, St. Mary's University. In his message, he asserts that they would be held liable for the actions of Ms. Baker. This demonstrates clear, malicious intent on the part of Bob Scanlon to harm Jackie Baker's employment. Jackie Baker's email message apparently also made its way into the hands of Tracy and Michelle Erickson, who sent yet another message to her employer on page 3. Who gave Scanlon permission to send this message to Jackie Baker's employer? The actions of the zoning administrator clearly demonstrate a lack of impartiality required by your own code of ethics. But these actions go beyond the retaliatory actions we've seen repeatedly in the past to a level of behavior that can only be described as harassment. Since Houston County has no county administrator, it is the county board's responsibility to manage employees. It is therefore your duty to take swift and decisive action to make it clear this kind of intimidation, retaliation, and harassment will not be tolerated.
Good morning. I am David Williams of Williams Consultants in Fillmore County. This past weekend, the Bakers received a written notice from Scanlon informing them that their house violated the county zoning ordinance because it is located too close to the Erickson mining site. You have a copy of Scanlon's letter to the Bakers that I just am passing off to you. Scanlon's letter is dated May 7, 2013, but that's an error, it's actually 2014. The Bakers built their house in 2005, long before Erickson had even purchased his property in 2009. The Bakers had obtained a setback variance and permit from the county from that very same Bob Scanlon, who then measured the distance of their house to the neighboring mining site at 700 feet, well beyond the Bakers' approved setback variance. In his recent letter, Scanlon warned the Bakers that their house must either be moved or torn down if they do not obtain an after-the-fact variance. Also this past weekend, Rosemary Iverson, another neighbor of the Erickson property just north and above the proposed mining site, received a written notice from Scanlon claiming that her cabins violate the county zoning ordinance. Her cabins were built by the Thorsons, the previous owners from the Ericksons, and were properly permitted to the Thorsons. The Thorsons sold their cabins to Iverson. You have a copy of Scanlon's letter to Rosemary Iverson. Scanlon threatens to demolish her cabins. These letters are not some weird and random coincidence. They are part of Scanlon's aggressive attempt to intimidate neighbors of Erickson who have opposed the proposed mining of silica sand adjacent to their property. This is Scanlon's harassing and retaliatory behavior. There's absolutely no objectivity from Scanlon. His job is to be neutral in administering county zoning ordinances and permitting requirements. Yet Scanlon has continually shown bias towards Erickson. You need to get immediate control over Scanlon. He's out of control and about to subject your county to serious litigation.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Vince Reedy from Money Creek. I am deeply concerned about the email which is attached to my notes, recently sent to the head of the State Environmental Quality Board from Houston County's Planning and Zoning Administrator. The tone of that note was highly unprofessional and totally inappropriate. There was no pretense of impartiality or even-handedness. On behalf of Mr. Erickson, the zoning administrator berated the head of the EQB, sounding more like an angry parent scolding a misbehaving child than a professional with a question he wanted answered. Tone communicates attitude, and the tone in that email is ugly, condescending, nasty, belligerent. That ugly email has been making the rounds of the Environmental Quality Board to the Commissioner of the DNR, the Commissioner of Health, the Commissioner of Agriculture, the head of the MPCA, the head of the DNR, etc. That is not good for Houston County. The tone of that note reveals a whole lot more about how things work here in Houston County than I'm sure any of you would like made public. As a resident and as an alternate on the EQB rulemaking committee, I am embarrassed. I cannot imagine how embarrassed and chagrined you all, as the commissioners of this county, responsible to and for the county, must have been when you read that ugly email. I don't believe you can ignore the damage that has been done to the county. I do hope you understand that many of us share your discomfort at what this says about our county, and I trust you will take immediate steps to ensure this does not happen again. Thank you.
Good morning, Michael Fields, Winnebago Township. You know, banning frac sand mining would make your jobs just so much easier. This Erickson mine situation is just a taste of the kind of legal fights the county can expect if you don't ban it. Tracy Erickson had a fair chance to present his case before a judge, was told no, and has now dumped this huge vat of sour grapes on your desks. I'm no lawyer, but this split with Minnesota Sands, it just looks like some kind of end run around the law. What I don't understand is why you all seem to be enabling him. It's not uncommon for a mining company to exceed what the law allows, even in those places where ordinances are enforced. In my case, it was a violation of the setback. The Erickson mine, there are already reports of numerous violations, but both cases eventually found their way into the courts and cost the county money. You're aware of the kinds of legal action going on in Wisconsin. Local governments finding themselves in courts when communities have tried to restrict ongoing frac sand operations. Or how about when the mining companies try to get townships to secede from municipalities? There's a whole host of ploys and tricks that are already being used, and you'll probably become familiar with many more of them if you permit this dangerous and destructive practice. If a lawsuit results from a vote to ban frac sand mining in Houston County, wouldn't it be cheaper and easier to fight that one legal battle rather than several of these kinds of legal end runs over and over, and then still have to deal with all the negative aspects of frac sand mining? I would much rather my tax dollars go toward keeping these people out than be spent engaging in wastes of time and money like the Erickson mine affair. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, I'm Sue Van Gorp from Yucatan Township, and I'd like to address the selective enforcement and intimidation of planning and zoning in Houston County. Perhaps you can explain to me why it is that virtually everyone who has spoken up against the Erickson mine or frac sand mining has had threats and actions taken against them. Obviously, I can't go into all of the specifics in my 2-minute soundbite, but I will be sharing literally a dozen such incidents with Tess and would like to be more than happy to lay it out for you after this meeting. Any and all violations of the Erickson mine and the attempts to illegally permit that mine are dismissed. Yet every minor infraction, real or imagined, is prosecuted if anyone has the courage to speak out against this permit. Also, many people have been threatened and intimidated for the same reasons. For example, we did not have a feedlot violation, and the situation has been identical on our farm for 25 years, yet we are accused of a feedlot violation because we spoke up. Many of these situations have been unchanged for 7 to 25 years, yet as soon as someone speaks out, they are reported. Many of these violations have been dismissed as ridiculous, and this is prosecutorial misconduct. Will you commissioners discipline your employees, or will you wait until someone gets hurt? If you do not take action to control and discipline your employees, we will go to the press, and the whole rotten story is going to come out to protect our safety and our property. Scanlon continues to be a tool for Tracy Erickson by selectively enforcing the ordinances. This is harassment of Houston County citizens and an obvious abuse of power. Thanks.
Donna Buckley, Yucatan Township. I know that you have these 2 documents in your packets. One is from Bob Scanlon to Tracy Erickson, and the other is from Jay Swire saying that the Erickson permit has expired and that there would be an EAW required to get a new permit. But I want to say, I'm the person going door knocking around this county. There are hundreds and hundreds of people who have signed a petition so far to ban frac sand mining in Houston County. I have predominantly, in fact, only gone to your districts, Commissioners Walter and Storley. So of these hundreds and hundreds of people who have signed this petition to ban, are they jerks too? Are they jerks to you? Commissioner, are they jerks? Are they jerks?
Are they jerks to you, Commissioner Chomey?
As our public comment period has come to an end, I think, Ryan, you're next on the agenda.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm on the agenda today for approval of 2 contracts. The first is project SAP 28-604-33. This is for the paving of County 4 and County 9. We opened bids on this yesterday. The engineering estimate was $4,464,092.35. The low bid came in at $4,282,167.59, so that's 4.08% under the estimate. I just have to make the recommendation to approve the low bid, and that would be to Matic Construction, and they were the only bidder on this project. So.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And the second project I'd like to award today is for the replacement of a bridge on Daly Creek Road. This is in Yucatan Township, project number SAP 28-599-73. This project we had 4 bidders. The engineer's estimate was $291,323. The low bid was Van Gundy Excavating with a bid of $210,303 even. Out of the 4 bidders, Van Gundy was the low bid. We had another bidder that was $4,000 over Van Gundy, and then we have a couple more that are another $15,000 to $30,000 over that. So.
Where's the Daly Bridge?
Daly Creek Bridge is on the north end of Yucatan Township, west of Houston.
Move to approve?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to give one quick update if I could. We have a project that's going to be starting soon on County Road 5 right here in Caledonia. This is going to involve some utility replacements for the city of Caledonia, some sanitary water main and storm sewer, along with resurfacing of the roadway, curb and gutter and stuff. That project is now tentatively scheduled to begin on the Tuesday after Memorial Day. We're going to try to keep the roadway open throughout that first week. There's going to be some construction going on, so we'd like to keep the residents off that section if we can at that time. We'd like to keep it open for school buses to get throughout that week, and then the following week we'd shut down the roadway for 2 to 3 weeks as we replace some utilities in the first couple of locks going out of town. So I just want to give you an update on the status of that.
Going out of town, which way?
Going out of town on Winnebago Street, going south of town onto County 5.
So there'll be a detour around that.
Yep, during the initial phase, the intersection of County 5 and County Road 249 will be shut down. So there's going to be 2 different detours. One's going to go down on 249 out to County 32 and come back into town. It's going to be a inconvenience for the residents that live on 249 when they can see the town. They live in town, but they can't drive through a construction site. And the other detour for that development, leaving town, the official detour is going to go down to South Prairie Drive over County 5 down to South Prairie over to Trunk Highway 76 and back onto Trunk Highway 44. So that's probably about a 5-mile detour, again, for residents that are in the town that they just can't quite connect in. The contract allows the contractor to shut down that roadway segment for up to 15 working days, so essentially 3 weeks. They are anticipating us to meet quicker than that, so as long as we get decent weather, they should be in and out of there much quicker. If there's no bad weather, no unexpected issues that they encounter. So, and then once they get through that initial, it's about a one long city block section, utility replacement, then they're going to move on to the next section where then the residents can get back into town. There's a detour on 5 that's going to continue on, but there's ways for the residents close by to get into town. So, just an update, so if you have any questions, you can see me other cities aware of what's going on too. So I've been talking with the city administrator and Mike Girardi, which oversees the city utilities and stuff, so they're both aware of what's going on.
Better than the detour to 2016 on I-90 there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be relatively short.
That's 6 miles.
Yes. Okay.
All good.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Morning. Just got one item for the agenda, Planning Commission minutes from back on April 30th. AT&T had an expansion of an existing facility near their tower in Houston Township. And so Planning Commission recommended approval of that. With 2 conditions, that all federal, state, and local permits be obtained and followed, and temporary tower would be set up this summer here, but be taken down by the end of the year.
That's AT&T, you said?
Yep. Putting an additional equipment shelter next to the tower and adding onto the existing Verizon tower with their facility.
Need a motion to approve that? Well,
Yep.
Motion to approve the AT&T
Cell tower?
cell tower. I was like, equipment, cell tower?
It must be a shared tower, AT&T?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Verizon tower, AT&T is putting their equipment on it.
Okay. So finally you'll get service at AT&T. Second, you second?
Yeah, second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
Building permits.
Tess, we're running a little bit ahead of time. Do you want to move up on the agenda?
Yes.
I had 3 renewals here. Bananas Green, Milestone Materials, and Weezers. Planning Commission recommends approval.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say.
I had 3 renewals from Planning Commission, Milestone,
So we need
Bonanza Grain, and Weezers.
Need a motion.
Motion to approve the, are they CUPs?
Yep.
These are existing as renewals.
Renewals.
Yeah.
Yep.
You made a motion? Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Tess.
I think we should have had approval of the zoning permits too.
Oh,
They were on.
Yeah, we should have a motion.
we should have a motion on the zoning permits too.
Move to accept the
If we have copies of it.
zoning permits, approve the zoning permits.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Good morning, Commissioners. forwarded you a copy of Public Health Director Mary Marshall's request to do a smoking or tobacco-free campus. There's a copy of the signature of the for the community service building area. I think this is a very significant move for the county. I think it is the right thing to do. I also would like to see us consider this as a model for the rest of the county to move towards. This, I believe it was the William Mitchell School of Law Policy Division that did the initial draft. Reading it, it was very complete and just what you would expect from a bunch of law students. They didn't miss a beat. So I will let Mary talk about the implications of this and the benefits of it as well.
Morning, Commissioners. What we have then before you today is really our recommendation and request to move forward with this draft policy on a tobacco-free campus for our building site at 611 Vista. Just to let you know, kind of, I won't, you can obviously read all this and probably have, but really the purpose really is that we believe, and I say we, I'm saying the collective we, that obviously smoking and tobacco use is detrimental to the health and the safety, not only of our employees and residents and clients and our visitors coming in and out of the building. We do hold our WIC clinics, immunization clinics at that site, and many of those are women, pregnant women, infants, and children. So as well as our county's health, as well as our county employees' health. So primarily that's the purpose of this. We have also included in there any electronic devices to not be used on county property, including when we say county property, we also mean in cars that are located on that county property as well. We do not have, or are proposing to not have, any areas designated for tobacco use at that community services building or the surrounding grounds, meaning there is another parking site that's adjacent to our building. We do propose that if we have employees or clients, or for the public at large, really, if there is any interest in smoking cessation programs or services, that is something that we offer. And we'd be happy to help folks that are interested in moving forward with that. As far as the compliance and enforcement goes, we really believe that the enforcement of this policy is a shared responsibility of all of our staff. And we've had conversation with our staff, we've had conversation with our other building partners, and everybody really, for the most part, is in very much full agreement. Spoken with our Veteran Service Officer, he's very supportive of this move as well. Right now, we do not have any ashtrays or places for people to extinguish cigarettes. And as I've been coming in and out of the building, noticing I don't even see any cigarette butts on the property anywhere. And so I believe that this move would really just formalize kind of the practice that we already have established at that location.
One of the reasons it's coming to you as a countywide policy rather than as simply a departmental policy is because the expectation is that all employees of Houston County will comply with this policy when they are on those grounds. So that's hence why it's policy countywide.
This is also a requirement of our state health-wide improvement grant that we've gotten as well. They want us to either be working on this type of thing or get it done. And so we would prefer to just get it done. We believe it's progressive, that it's the right thing to do. Many of our partners in other counties, colleagues are saying that they are bringing forward this same type of policy before their boards. So
I understand, so this is just out of the community service building?
Correct.
And surrounding grounds, all the grounds around it.
Correct. And you had mentioned too that you're looking at doing this campus-wide at some point, or looking at that, or?
I would like to see just a substitute of a vocation locale in the same policy. That would be my recommendation, that we take this to department head for discussion, because that's our practice to do. and at our next department head meeting, and for input into implementing this county.
This is a very good start, especially public
Oh, yeah.
health, that's,
It just makes
Well, it's kind of
sense.
contradictory that you come there for public health and then there's smoke, so it kind of makes sense.
that and our ship is a very important grant for us.
And I believe the supermajority of our employees are non-tobacco users, so it may be difficult for some, but we've got good programs out there to help them along with that.
So you need a motion to approve. Okay, so moved.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mary, how's the e-cigarette thing coming?
We just had some, Heather and I met with Jamie on Friday, and again brought forward to her a draft that was worked through with the American Lung Association as well as the Tobacco Law Center, and kind of took what we already had with regards to licensing and then superimposed all of the e-cigarette electronic device language in that. I believe right now she is wanted to have some conversation with law enforcement to make sure that basically compliance checks, etc., would not be an issue for them. So we plan to get this done in June.
But they
as
would
far as the public
do the
hearing.
compliance checks the same as they would do cigarette checks. They could do them all at the same time,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Okay.
But I think, you know, we just need to involve some other partners, potential people that this would affect in some of the conversations, and I believe that Jamie's working on that right now. So we'll get to you kind of the final draft, and then whatever your procedure is for public hearing and public comment.
I really do like that you're being proactive about this too before it becomes a big issue. Thank you.
I just have a question between Mary and Ted. What's the enforcement? It's a policy that the county says you can't smoke here. If a guy walks by smoking a cigarette, what are you gonna do?
Well, if you're talking county employee, that becomes a performance issue, and so we would coach them and.
Not a county employee. Does it only pertain to county employees? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I'm just saying, if we tell people not to smoke on that property.
Right.
Because you're coming to a public health.
It pertains to, it's a county policy, it pertains to everyone coming onto the property. Obviously, I'm not sure exactly what would happen with a member of the public, other than to say that we would, I think it's probably most effective to politely approach them and just say, you may not be aware.
It'll be posted too, though, I think.
Be posted,
Okay.
say you may not be aware
So,
that this
thank
is a tobacco-free campus, and we appreciate your cooperation, and if, I think most people would apologize or just say,
Right.
they now know, they know, and those who may not would probably just move on. I mean, they just move along and put their cigarette in hand.
And if they get hostile, we'll call you guys.
Right?
You
Well, the
know-
city, but we'd be there.
To be honest with you, we did a smoke-free campus at my previous employer, which was a state university, and we expected a lot of non-compliance because there's dormitories, there's a lot of visitors in. I mean, a lot of members of the public in and out all day long, and it went off without, I mean, we had a few infractions up front where we had to remind people, but within a month, it was a tobacco-free campus.
I'm sure this will be good.
And it was really a non-issue.
For the school, it's,
Correct.
You know, we really thought that there'd be a lot in the dorm room hanging out the windows kind of smoking, but, no, not.
so it's posted, thank you for clarification.
Do you have signage on?
We will put up some signage.
Informing people of that?
Right, right. But again, it's not a practice that, that we've seen as far as people coming on into the property, you know, just, I don't know if it's because we're public health and people already kind of have that in their mind, or what, the population that we serve, but we don't anticipate that that's going to be an issue. And then we all do take responsibility for the enforcement piece of it, and, you know, certainly will request if people don't know, just kind of like when Minnesota went to the, you know, the Indoor Clean Air Act. It took a while for people to realize that, oh yeah, okay, I can't smoke here now, and or 10 feet away from entrances or whatever that be. It's kind of establishing a new habit.
so to speak.
Mary, keep us all informed on that e-cigarette,
Sure,
how it's coming along.
And another thing is, do you guys have any information to hand out on e-cigarettes that we can hand out? Because I've had people say, well, it's not harmful to you if you use those, and I correct them, but I would like to say.
Yeah, we have all kinds of information.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of information that's available for public. You can either send them to us, or we can get it out to commissioners, whatever you prefer.
Did you say that the e-cig policy is a part of this for your campus?
Exactly.
Already in there?
Yes,
Okay.
it's in there, yes.
And it's in final form in front of Commissioner Walter for signature.
Which I already gave to Shar. It's signed.
Yep.
And I'm going to shift gears here and go into staffing. As Mary is sitting here, and we had a resignation in public health, and we'd like to have officially acknowledged by the commissioners. Jessica Meldy, who had been with the county for, as a .3 FTE for, I believe, about 4 years, has resigned. She resigned effective May 9th, 2014, and I always like to officially thank people for their service to the county, as well as wish them well in their endeavors. And
We will not be asking for any additional staffing at this time. We'll figure out how to.
so it's been the board's policy to always officially accept resignations and retirements. So
Do you need a motion on that?
you typically do that, even though it's after the fact.
I think we should have a motion to accept her resignation and thank her for her service.
I move to accept Jessica Meldy's resignation and issue a sincere thank you for her services to the county.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, on staffing, continuing on with staffing, Human Services, we have a couple of items in front of you here. Kirby Fitzpatrick's probationary period is coming to a close. She's been quite a successful employee for us. This change of probation status will also result in a change of step for her, because she started as a step 1. And so that when you start as a step 1 at the close of your probation period, you go to step 2. Just as a reminder here, if you start at step 2, you don't go to step 3. But we do that for step 1 starts. This change will be effective May 18th, so it's right around the corner. And Karen is Kirby's supervisor. Would you like to comment in that regard?
Kirby has really fit in nicely with our Human Services Department. She's efficient, she's effective, and she's our frontline and greets staff and the public very well. So we're very excited for her to become a regular employee.
I'd like to make a motion to have Kirby be moved to regular employee. And she does do a great job up there. She's very, very pleasant when you come in, and knowledgeable.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. We have a second item on the agenda due to the recent passing of a county employee in Human Services. We are recommending initiating a search for a 1 FTE full-time position as a financial worker B23. The wage range is set forth there for you. At the same time, we anticipate we may have internal applicants applying for this position as well. And we would also like to be able to post that there is a potentially a K-SAFE position that we would be filling. This will save us advertising dollars. It's a little more complex to do this because we do hiring through the merit system at the Department of Human Services. I have spoken with the director up there, and because the test for the same kinds of skills and knowledge, we will only need to do one test, and that would be for the financial worker, and they would also do an internal posting that there may be a second position open so that we can try to do this all in one fell swoop. We're not saying we're hiring internally, that is a strong possibility. We have folks here that may be interested. But we will be doing a competitive equal opportunity search for the opening. And
By the way, if we do have an internal candidate take the position, we will be able to use the identical same pool, so long as people expressed an interest in the K-SAVE position, and that's what we're working on there. So
It makes sense to advertise that way.
We can't always do this with all of our human service positions because the tests are distinctly different, but in this case, the humans, DHS will let us work with them on this.
Do you need a motion? Please, Commissioner. Motion to open the position and advertise for one and maybe a possibility of a second, right?
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Good. Thank you, Karen. And next we have Sheriff's Office. This morning we are recommending that the board accepts the letter of intent to retire from jailer Dwayne Beckman, who's been a lead jailer. His retirement would be effective June 15th, 2014. He's been with the county quite a period of time.
Yeah, been a lead over 2.5 years, and then prior to that, he was a jailer.
And so we would ask that you accept his letter of intent to retire effective June 15th.
Move to accept Dwayne Beckman's intent to retire and thank him for his service, years of service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, we're recommending approving an internal search for a full-time lead. And the reason why this is internal and we're not taking it external is because this is we're looking at a lead worker out of the ranks of the people who have been doing the same job already.
Trained.
And are already trained in it, as well as performed all the essential functions of exactly what the lead would be overseeing. So we respectfully, this is how we do for what we do for our lead positions. So this, as you note, the lead jailer pay is at $25.82 per hour. So we would like to begin that process immediately.
Then if we find somebody internally, we would come back and fill that position later is what I'm assuming is going to happen?
Kind of the same step as we did with Gary Bowers when he retired.
Depending on where the lead comes from.
Correct.
Where it comes from the half-time ranks or if it comes from the full-time ranks, we're not sure what the result will be, so we don't know what we're searching for yet. Would be searching for yet.
Can you say something?
Well, I was just wondering if we would advertise rate as soon as, well, I guess we have to bring that person back and approve them before we can advertise.
Right, because like I said, we don't know what we're going to be advertising for. And just for your information as well, some time ago, in fact, it was probably about this time last year, Jail Administrator Schultz and I were up here and said,
needed to be looking at a staffing study now. And now that we're getting close to 3 years in the jail, we have some longitudinal data that actually seems consistent and reliable. And we're working closely with the sheriff and the finance director and looking at staffing. That means we're looking at our full-time positions, we're looking at our half-time positions, and we're looking at our 67-day positions. We're looking at overtime, we're looking at comp time, we're looking at everything that impacts it and trying to determine how can we be the most effective. So we'll be bringing, I believe I put it on next week's agenda, that we're close to bringing some recommendations to the board. I believe we should have it, we're going to meet again yet today. And we should be having some staffing recommendations for your consideration next week.
We need to have all the finances before next week so we can look it over, you know.
Let me ask Carol, is that the
I'm getting there.
Maybe we should put it 2 weeks out then, just to make sure we have.
Yeah, I think
So I'll make an
that's
amendment to
hard to
my.
make a decision when you don't know.
I'll make an amendment to what I submitted this morning, so we'll make it 2 weeks out.
Sounds good.
But just so you know that that's forthcoming, and it's not something all of a sudden, it's something we've really been talking about and working on. And in light of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, we really need to be looking at this as well, because how the federal government defines full-time position versus how the county defines full-time and the benefit costs are all part of that discussion.
We need to know all that.
Okay. Do you need a motion to post the?
Oh, please.
Internal posting?
Yeah, motion to post the internal posting for Lee Jailer.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And just, that's it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And just,
Next week, we're hearing on the jail.
I can tell you just in a 2-minute update real quickly. I got a phone call from Jerry Conway at NCIT who asked that we postpone the group meeting this morning, so I apologize for that, but he thought that we were not prepared at this point. The engineer's report is still outstanding, although I asked him if he had any indication. He says he doesn't believe that there's any structural issues with the building, but it will come through as structurally sound. Certainly, we need the engineer's report. I told him to make a determination, for the board to be able to make a determination. He would like the board to be in the next, very quick soon, make a determination as to whether to raise the building or to go forward, because it impacts how MCIT responds with who they can. We also should, we will not schedule that, but I told him it was kind of a chicken and egg thing, that the board can't make the decision until we have the engineer's report. And it would be nice for us to even have the contractor's report on cost going through. And so that MCIT hasn't seen the contractor's report at this point yet. He believes that should be forthcoming as well. The building, I understand, is dry, nearly dry, almost totally dry. The desiccant have been operating this entire time. Most of the walls, I believe on the first floor, had to come out, and partial walls on the second floor had to come out. There was some asbestos abatement that was done. It was fairly minimal. And the flooring on the air handlers on the second floor that were set in those rooms that you saw when you did your tour, those are out. The flooring had to come up on the second floor, and that is, from a historical perspective, that's rather sad. That floor, everybody that saw that floor said that they couldn't believe it had 5 layers of flooring. I called up to an agency in the city that has expertise in historical buildings. Floors in particular is all they do, and we describe the floor because they're just shy of 1 inch thick, 3 inch wide fir planks. And fir right now, new fir is more expensive than oak. This flooring that we lost and could not be salvaged because of the grain of the flooring and because of the hand cast nails. was very unusual, very rare. Underneath that are 2 subfloorings plus a couple of little floors, layers, I'm not quite sure what they are. But the subflooring, if the fir plank lay like this, the subflooring lay like that, and underneath it lay also at another angle. When I talked to them up in the cities, they thought that that was rather remarkable and was wondering if that architectural structure actually was unique to the jail because of the location of the old cells and where the sheriff lived, so you couldn't pop up through into the sheriff's quarters. And they thought that from an architectural position was somewhat significant, and so we, as best we can, when we find anything that's potential architectural historical value, we have removed parts of it and tried to, so we could at least potentially do a display at some point. And we found I believe it's a 1875 Indian head nickel and an Indian head penny, if that's what they're called. And they're in some postcard and an old advertisement going way back. So we've marked what rooms those have come from, and we have them. And they'll go along with any other.
But there's a lot of interesting things.
Some dirty newspapers. I've got all the dirty stuff in a plastic bag in the closet in my office. So thank you for your time. And next week, though, the Historical Society would like to come down and talk with you, so they can get their briefing.
Well, we covered a lot of business there. Carol.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am requesting approval of 3 budget amendments affecting 3 different departments. First off, we have Wildcat, and that budget amendment takes the revenue we had from the prior year, adds it to our projects, and I believe there's a balance of $22,000 in there now. We'd be adding $11,000 so for the past, so that we carry that over to work on projects specific to the project.
Did we ever get the bill on the water main that broke?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to be very high.
We had a
frozen water main down there.
Seems to be
But that's typical all over this winter.
Yeah.
So what does that bring that balance to?
Like $33,000. Well, we did spend a little bit of it, but no, that's adjusted in here, so this takes into account what was spent.
We should have around 50.
Yeah, that's what we
from the last.
Well, last year you only designated 22,000 of that. I'm just going by what you had designated last year and adding to. This is the amount from 2013 that was over.
But isn't the money that was above for?
But you just started designating it last year. The funds before were kind of meant to make up for what had been spent on the park that weren't made up in prior years, if I remember.
I've documented from 2008 forward, we should have around 50,000.
Right. That's when we started making money on it. But the years before that, the county spent their dollars. So I thought we were just going from whatever year forward to designate.
That wasn't my understanding.
I'll look it up. But anyway.
Yeah, because the Wildcat Board is under a different understanding than too.
Okay. And maybe I'm just missing, maybe I'm just not remembering the number that's actually there from last year.
I think, Shara, you have a copy of our report because it's always given to the committee when they do meet.
Okay, I don't have the line item breakdown.
So if you can check into it.
Okay.
And then we look at that budget next week, could we, before we?
But the $11,000 is the amount from last year that we do need to designate
Okay.
for this year.
Okay.
It would just be our balance that we have in there before that would need to be adjusted.
Okay.
So this would be adding our 2013 revenue to what's there. The sheriff and the jail, we had budgeted for vehicles that weren't able to be purchased, and it's similar to last year when Andy couldn't get all of his stuff ordered at the end of the year, so we carried over the budget so that they could be ordered. There was difficulty finding the vehicles, there were some changes that would be better to wait and to order this year, so those are the two changes. They had actually budgeted for 2 vans, and they're just doing 1 and 1 sheriff's car. So that's what that is. And then the public health, we received several new grants that needed to have budget numbers added to it. And then also when we had the health insurance decrease, they didn't get those numbers finalized until just recently. It actually lowers their budgeted dollars. Those are the 3 requests that I have. And I think public health, the numbers are highlighted on the right-hand column.
So we need a motion to approve those budget amendments.
So move.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And it is the second Tuesday of the month, so the finance is always supposed to be on the agenda. So I sent out the finance reports for the end of April. There's nothing shocking to report. We don't have our tax money yet. If you look at the trial balance, like for the general fund on page 18, and you can see where the necessity to maintain a cash balance comes into play, as we completed the 4th month and our beginning balance of $3.2 million is now down to $932,000. Of course, at the end of April, into June, we'll receive our first tax money, and that will bring that back up.
Reminder to everybody to pay their taxes.
Yes.
Where's that?
Thursday. Unless you
It
like
makes
to pay
Carol very
penalty,
happy.
We'll take the penalty also, if that be the case. There are no departments that are showing anything unusual for the year up to this point. We have people who have spent their money. So we'll even out in June, the end of June reports.
Carol, do you know if there's a fee for banks when they pay somebody's taxes from their mortgage fund? You know how they take tax money out and then they send it to the county for the person? Do we charge for that?
We do. Donna charges an escrow fee, $5 per parcel to the escrow company.
Is that what most counties do?
I think it approved 2 years ago?
Yep.
She did.
I got a call about that we were the only county that did that. I said,
no.
I had
No,
called Donna, correct.
Donna polled the counties
Yeah.
to see what they did.
Okay.
We were one of the few not charging before.
Yes.
I had him call Donna directly because I knew she could answer it. So, okay, thank you.
And really, yes, I suppose I didn't have to pay $5. Is it $5 each payment, or is it $5 for the year?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I'm not sure what we call it.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do charge fee, and a lot of other
Okay,
ones do also.
good, that's good to know. Like I said, I referred them on, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing on the consent agenda.
Actually, we did add,
Oh, I have my old.
yeah, the probation reimbursement.
Okay.
Email that
Yeah.
out to them.
Did that come across here? Are you guys finished?
Okay, this is, you have to have that, I said they did email out. She's a report.
The consent agenda is correspondence regarding county probation services reimbursement, and it's just their annual report, I presume, or quarterly?
Quarterly.
Okay. I was interviewing my first agenda where I put notes on. Catch that.
We get this report otherwise too, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Dana, do you want to look at that while he's looking at the
Nice flip
Oh,
there. Yeah. The backhand is not great.
Well, moving on to unfinished business, Justin, you want to report on the last study group meeting?
Yeah. Hang on one second. Yeah, so the last study committee meeting went well. We talked about setbacks. We went through, boy, a number of them. Yeah, so we went through a number of setbacks. We got through just about the entire list. There was like 3 of them left over that we said we would come back to the following meeting and get done. I thought it went very well. A lot of discussion, a lot of, I guess you'd say, looked at the pros and cons. Some things were left not quite set in stone, but had a very good direction where they were heading. So that's pretty much, I guess, the meeting in a nutshell. We talked about setbacks from everything from trout streams to properties to feedlots to schools, cities, public recreational areas, parks, trails, stuff like that. So trying to cover all of the bases as much as we could, but there's a few more we'll get to at the end of that meeting. Glenn, do you remember what those 3 were? I'm trying to think of the 3 we didn't get to.
We talked about sinkholes and that, and we were
sinkholes
some further study on that, and just right now I can't think of the other.
I can't think of the other 3 with the right offhand, but there was 3 of them that we'll get to at the next meeting. But yep. So that went very well.
When is the next meeting?
Next Monday, right?
If I ain't planting corn.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too, we'll play that one by the weather.
That's why we didn't meet this week, because of we wanted good weather for planting, right?
Well, it's getting late now, and we just haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
And if you get a day, you gotta take it.
We got half the people are farmers there right now, so. Yeah, so it's slated to be next week.
Highway Department building?
In that one, nothing that I have
Nothing
anything to
recent,
report yet,
yeah.
so.
Due to the fact that Steve can't meet.
Yeah.
What do you think about having the last engineering firm, architectural firm, come in and talk to us about
Sure.
that? You know,
Yep.
scaling it down.
Yep.
Give us
Yeah, we can do
a
that.
pitch or something, you know.
Should we see if maybe Brian get a hold of them and find a date that works for them and we'll meet up?
Yep, sounds good.
Good idea, Steve. Okay.
And we just had a thing on the jail, we don't have any information until next week. Courthouse, I saw that so far our bonding request isn't in the state budget.
Is there still hope for it? Is there still hope for it?
I talked to Jeremy, I did talk to him, I emailed Jeremy and Miller, and he's still working on it.
That's
He said
good.
it might be longer, and there might be other areas we could look at too, so. But I think we got a report of that from him. Commissioner reports. Dana?
Yes. In 2 weeks, we had a meeting, right? I attended the planning and zoning meeting as a member of the commission, and we got through the meeting, and it's fine. Went to the EDA Summit meeting with Crescent last Thursday, and had a very good speaker, and Don Weber, enjoyed that. Rick did a real good job in organizing, the pizza was good. It was a very informative night, enjoyed it a lot. And Yesterday I went to the Southeastern Minnesota Water Board at Orinoco, representing our county, and we had a very good speaker there by the name of Scott Johnson from the DNR. He's the head of the Southeast Groundwater. He's a groundwater specialist. He gave a 2-hour talk, very good, about all what the DNR does with our water quality and the amount of water we're using. We're using a lot more water as a society now than we ever have, and equality is some concern over that. I found out that Houston County is the only county in Minnesota that does not have a county geological atlas done yet because of the complexity of our geology. They're working on it real hard to get it done. I asked them when we would see it. He said, I hope real soon. And that should be something you should probably, in the frac sand study, when you look at that.
Right.
Look at the geology.
Rick mentioned that.
And water quality and the use of water should be a concern of that. So, and I have his card if anybody's interested. That's it for me.
So I had the ordinance writing committee that we just talked about, and then I was also at the planning and zoning meeting just as an observer, just see what's going on. Other than that, no other, I should say, we had, Steve and I met, personnel committee, we met, and it was regarding some of the letters and stuff, so for the members of the public that brought that up, it did make its way to the HR and personnel committee, so we're looking into that. But other than that, that's about all that we have.
And I've been a little decommissioned. I met via telephone on the personnel committee. So. Otherwise, not very active.
Active enough.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay, I went to the public health open house on when we had our last, I can't even think of the date anymore. But anyway, that was very informative, and they really have so many good programs up there. I think it's great when everybody can visit it. And I had a Hiawatha Valley mental health meeting, and we were discussing the building more, and it just keeps getting closer, and we're getting really excited for it. They're doing a fundraiser, a run. So if you know anybody who likes to do runs and all kinds of different activities, Memorial Day weekend in Winona as a fundraiser for Hiawatha Valley Mental Health. And then I went to the EDA Summit, and it was excellent. I wish that we could have recorded Don's talk, Don Weber's talk, because it was awesome. It was things that every employer should listen to. And he talked about where he started in his business, but what made the most effect on me is how he talked about how to treat your employees. And it was great, and he talked about this area being one that people want to bring their businesses into, because we have great health care in this area. It's got everything, that people could want to do for recreation. And he really talked about how this area ranks up so high for businesses coming into. So that was a really, really interesting talk. And they had a person from CETA that talked about how to promote your business on Facebook. But one of the best things, the thing that I heard a lot back on, was they had where people could talk about what they're doing in their community, what kind of things they're doing, so that other people could learn from them. And so people afterward, their comments were that they would like to have more meetings like that. So probably as a county EDA, we would try to do more of these summit type things where all the different EDAs could get together and brainstorm and work together, which will be really good. And I attended the city council meeting last night, and they did their well water safety program. That was very interesting too. And other than that, not tons going on. They're looking for a new police chief soon because there's retired. I think that's all I can remember.
And Judy, you summarized that EDA. I also went there just to listen. It was very interesting. We're getting Mr. Weber's an awesome person to listen to. And I did like at the end where each city, like Spring Grove, Houston, Caledonia, had their groups there that spoke about what they're working on. And you learn from each other so much that way. And I did go to the Public Health Open House, which was well done as usual.
Was it well attended? Pretty well?
Yes.
Okay,
I
good.
didn't get the report on it, but there were a lot of people there when I was there, so. And I did go to the county township meeting last night, and they really appreciate that we're on that board, that we have somebody come to it, because they like the update. County's made up of townships, and so they really liked how well the annual meeting went, with the good reports. They mentioned Shars Health report, which is a very big concern of theirs. And they're planning their annual dinner for September, and they're also going to quite a few conferences for townships. So those were my 3 things. Okay, discussion items: approved claims, human service, license center, disbursements.
Move to approve.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? County auction, Shari must have came up with.
Yeah, it's that time again, if we want to hold a county auction, we need to begin the planning. Generally, we've held that the Wednesday of the fair, which would be August 13th. And I talked to Doug Ely. He has a number of vehicles put on the auction, and that's kind of what makes or breaks it, the vehicles. So with your approval, I'll send out the notices to all the other
school districts
and cities and townships and see if anybody wants to participate.
Sure. Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have 2 abatements to approve. First one's for David Albakken. Should have been classified as homestead, and the other one was an abatement for a disabled veteran. Need a motion to approve those.
Make a motion to approve the abatement for David Halbakken as well as the abatement for the disabled veteran.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Shari's working next week's agenda. No.
We're counting, yes, next week.
Yeah. Just one.
Oh, I know what I need to remember to bring up. This is remember I brought up last month, about the EMS proclamation. I don't know if you want me to read it or if I should just pass it on. This is EMS week, and whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Oh, I think it's outside.
Okay. Whereas members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those who need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas the emergency medical service system consists of emergency physicians, nurses, medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, first responders, educators, administrator, and others, whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it's appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of the emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Service Week. Therefore, Houston County, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to the 24th as Emergency Medical Service Week. And I think I did bring up to you last just the number of volunteers and in each of the areas. Like I said, first responders, 1,034, EMTs, 924, paramedics, 193. And that doesn't even count all the ambulance, fire departments, and county law enforcement. So there's a lot of people that, and majority are volunteers. So
Do we do that by consensus or a motion?
Or do a motion.
Motion to adopt this next week as EMS Recognition Week, is that what it's called? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then note that I saw Shar had two about filing dates.
Oh, yes.
That starts May 20th.
Correct. Through June 3rd.
May 20th to
And that's
June
only
3rd.
for county and state. The cities and schools have the later filing period. They begin in July.
So county and state.
Correct.
And can I make a motion that we approve the resolution for Gopher Land Trail funding?
Oh, sure, you have to come in, Jen.
Second.
Thank you.
We need it all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Teresa, Madam Chairman?
Oh, we need to also have a motion to approve that
Consent agenda.
consent agenda. We
Move
never
to
did.
approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Teresa? I was just going to ask, on the 21st of May, the EQB board is going to be meeting with cities. I think we all got a letter from them. And I think we need representation there. I'm going to go.
I'm planning on going.
So that's one of the things I did at the planning and zoning, I postponed it to find out who's the, we weren't the regulating union, so
Okay.
they were at times. So.
Yeah, I'm going to plan
And
on
because
going.
of me, they sent letters out to all of you,
Okay.
because of my emails, but will. And I think that's very important, but I'm planning on going.
Okay.
If any more than two,
Yeah.
if more than two, would have to be a meeting.
Technically not if it's for observation, as long as there's not
That's-
decisions being
Right,
made.
it's just
As long
like
as we got
attending
two for
those
sure.
other EQB meetings that we've gone
I'm
to.
looking forward to it.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.